Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rusty 78609, and I'm trying to figure out how to get out of this spot. Somebody parked real close behind me, and then somebody parked real close in front of me, but I think I can do it because I got a little bitty car, a Chevy Spark. But anyway, I'm just leaving the Historical Society meeting here at Fort Clark Springs. It started at 9:30, and they have it at a building called the Palisado. I think that means Palace Building here at the Fort Clark Springs next to Brackettville, Texas, near the border of Texas and Mexico. And the topic today that was given expertly by a historian about a wagon train that left San Antonio, Texas in 1850 in that range, headed to El Paso. And it talked about walking, but you know, there were a couple of hundred wagons and 4,000 head of cattle and horses and oxen and whatever else they had. It was a hell of a parade going out there. It took them about 3 or 4 months, whatever it took them, because they only averaged about 12 miles a day walking, of course. But it was a real exercise in history. But the building, of course, helped the ambiance in that building was built in the 1850s that we were in, and had a fire in the fireplace, and you know, so you had the ambiance of that old building in addition to the presentation of the about the wagon train going west from San Antonio, Texas to El Paso, Texas in the summer heat, and you know, moving that number of people and cattle and stuff. You know, you got to have food for the humans as well as that's the seatbelt thing. I always forget it, but anyway, it's like a mass migration of people, and they still got to have all the stuff. You know, you still got to have all the food, water, and so that every place they stopped was a place where hopefully there was water or nearby, and they didn't have any issues with the Native Americans, the Apaches. They were in the area, and they would burn the Native Americans would burn the plains, burn the grass on the plains to kind of drive the wagon train away from them, or move them to another area. At a few times, apparently, they thought they were going to be attacked, but they were not. And but it was just a really interesting presentation. And my takeaway from all of this in this Historical Society session, first one I've ever been to in my life, is that be aware that there are a lot of people that are very interested in history, and they're not just interested in the generalities of history. You know, they're interested in the specifics, and they do a lot of research. This guy did some research and found basically a journal from this that was kept by the person in charge of the wagon train, a captain, I suppose, and yeah, he kept up with the distance each day, and you know, the topography, the vegetation, you know, and so that the next group coming along would have a nice map so to follow. And then somebody asked the question, well, how did they measure mileage? And believe it or not, at that time in the 1850s, and maybe earlier too, the military did have a device that somehow was connected to the wheel of a wagon, and it worked like an odometer, and it measured like to within like 1.01 miles. You know, I mean, it would measure in 2-tenths, and so that's how they got the mileage. But they were doing it so that they would know the exact distance between these watering holes and exactly what the roads were like, so they could guesstimate their time from point A to point B, because it was going to become not only a way to protect settlers in the region, all these little forts being built out from San Antonio towards El Paso, but it was also going to be a way to resupply the forts. So you know, you kind of had to have an idea of how long it's going to take to get supplies from point A to point B, so that your quartermaster or whoever can allocate product adequately to survive the periods of time between droughts, so to speak. But anyway, it was interesting. And of course, the average age of the people in there were, you know, probably 65, 70 in that, or maybe even higher, I don't know. And that's the bulk of the people that are interested in the details of history, because they've either known somebody that lived in that period, or maybe a great grandparent or something that lived in that period. And so, but the younger group was not represented at all, of course. And it's a Saturday morning. I wished I could say it was a weekday and everybody's at work, but it wasn't. It's a Saturday morning at 9:30, and but that's life, you know. That I don't blame young people for not being interested in a wagon train that went across Texas in the 1840s, 50s, whatever it was. It was there was actually one that left in 1849 and one left 1850 going west to El Paso, and others came later. But anyway, let's see what's going on here. See if I can get to my house. This guy here is... Now watch him open his door. What did I tell you? He couldn't wait for me to get by. So here we go. But anyway, yeah, that's the Historical Society meeting story from me. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, it was very enlightening. I mean, I'd never thought about some of the things that they talked about. You know, I kind of got to where I was envisioning myself being actually on this wagon train and suffering the heat and the deprivations that those people did, and being in fear of, you know, attacks from the Apaches. You sure as hell didn't want to be captured by an Apache Indian or a Native American. But be that as it may, guys, if you have an interest in history, I'm sure there's a local historical association or society near where you are, and yeah, go to one of their sessions and see what you think. Anyway, that's the nooner today, and the temperature right now shows to be 37 degrees, which is cool. But next week it's going to warm up. So this is Rusty78609 saying thumbs up, carpe diem, adios, bye-bye, buy anything you want anytime. But if you think about it, use the link to Amazon products in the description of all of my videos. And yeah, it doesn't cost you a penny. Just click on the link. And yeah, if you have an interest in the details of history, some of the old events, check out your local historical society. You might be very impressed. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye.